AI is about to decide who gets recommended and who gets ignored, and most founders have no idea how to show up in that world. I brought on Simone Sauter to break down exactly how AI systems interpret credibility, how they decide who to trust, and what you need to do right now to make sure you're the one getting recommended. This isn't theory. Simone's going to show you how to train AI to recognize your authority. If you're a founder or CEO trying to stay visible in an AI driven world, this one's for you. Stick around to the end because what she shares about building trust with AI is going to change how you think about your entire content strategy. Hello, Simone. Thank you for being here.
Hello, Simone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Goodness, me too. I'm so excited to dive into today's topic because I think it's so important in this fast paced world that we all understand what we need to do to get out there and be visible. So let's just dive in.
All right. Can you pull up the slides? Perfect. Okay, everyone else, I'm so excited to be here because today I will share something with you that will change your business if you implement what I tell you. So we're going to talk about what I call the visibility triangle, which will teach you how to be recommended by AI, trusted by humans, and chosen for premium opportunities without constantly posting on social media. So we probably haven't met before. So my name is Simone Sauter. I help founders, CEOs, and established entrepreneurs build undeniable authority, credibility, and visibility in the AI era. And I do this through GEO, generative engine optimization, strategic media coverage, top-tier podcast interviews, and becoming the expert that AI systems recognize, cite, and recommend. Now, just very briefly about me, it's taking me 1 minute, but that's things that you should know about me. So I hold a master's degree in journalism and PR, and I'm a certified PR consultant by the German Press Academy in Berlin. I spent 8 years working as a journalist before I moved into corporate PR, which means I do understand the media and how it actually works from the inside out, and not only, how to pitch them. So I've led PR and communications work for global brands like Match.com, Tupperware, Daimler, Siemens, really operating at a level where reputation, messaging, and credibility really matter. Now, for my first business, if you Google me, you can find that. I worked as a breakup and divorce coach in 2014. And for that business, I have built a content-driven website that reached over 100,000 monthly organic readers. And I did this using SEO, search engine optimization, and PR, public relations, and not social media. And that visibility directly led to a book deal, which became a bestseller. So what basically happened is that my publisher found me through my media presence, and they approached me asking me if I would want to write a book with them about how to recover from heartache. And I did, and this became a best-selling book, which was really amazing. So my work and my expertise also have appeared in more than 40 mainstream publications, including Cosmopolitan, InStyle, Closer. I do write for Business Insider, I write for Parents.com, and for other publications. I am an entrepreneur since 2014, and since 2018, I have helped entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs translate their expertise into media coverage and into authority positioning and long-term visibility without relying on constant posting. So the emphasis is on long-term visibility. Everything that we do, that I do with my clients, is long-term. Like, there is no get rich quick scheme. There is no magic pill. So we really build a foundation for the long term. And today I bring in 23 years of experience across journalism, PR, search engine optimization, and authority building. And I now work at the intersection of media credibility and how AI evaluates expertise. Now, this is about me, and everything I'm teaching you today comes from building authority at scale for global brands, for myself, and for founders and experts navigating visibility in the AI era. Now, what are we going to learn today? What are we going to cover today? By the end of the session today, you understand how you can build trust in the age of AI. You will also understand how to become visible to AI and to humans. And specifically, how can you be recommended by AI as an expert when people search, be cited and referenced by AI when it generates answers, and how you can make your expertise discoverable through AI and not buried by it. And we will also learn how you can build a business and personal brand that is not dependent on social media. Now, it's not about visibility for the visibility's sake, because there's no point to that. It's about building authority that compounds and does not reset. This is what we're going to cover today. Now, there are three shifts that are happening at the moment, and everybody can feel them. So the first thing is people search in AI, right? So the entire search behavior changed. Like before AI, people were Googling things and everybody tried to get on page one and spot number one on Google. I did this too, with my first business, because this is how people found you. This is how people discovered you. But people still Google, but like most of the people by now use the Google AI mode, which is this little summary thing that you can see when you Google anything. And of course, people use ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, like any large language model to do their research, right? So the question is now not anymore, how can I get on page one in Google? The question is now, how can I actually show up in AI when people search for an expert and when people search for answers that I know the answer to? So this is one thing. The second thing is we are in a trust recession, in a very, very big trust recession. Everybody feels it. For most of the people, it's harder to sell because people lack the trust. And why? Because with AI, everybody can create content that looks like you're an expert. Like everybody can create expert content and pretend to be an expert, which leads then to people not trusting anymore because they don't know, is this actually written by you or is this actually written by AI? Before AI, we had to use our brains and our hands to write. Now we can just prompt anything and we can get perfect text. But that doesn't mean that we can deliver what we promise. So this is the second shift. And then the third shift is social media is flooded with AI content because now it's so easy to create content. Like before AI, only the people who were content creators or really, were busy with their visibility on social media were seen. And the ones that, did not create content were not seen. But the ones who did not used to create content now create content with AI, which means our feeds are flooded and our attention span just got a little bit shorter. I think it's around 8 seconds now, which is like super duper short. And at the end of the day, our audience is exhausted and we are exhausted as well. Like I am, and I'm guessing you are too. So AI is the gatekeeper, right? And so now the question is, why is AI the gatekeeper? Because discovery is increasingly handled by AI systems like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. And those systems do not browse the internet like humans, right? They analyze patterns, they analyze consistency and validation. So they look for evidence of authority across multiple sources and not opinions or personality. And if your expertise is not structured, documented in a verifiable way, so it's all about verification these days, that AI cannot confidently recommend you. Even so, you're not visible, because it just cannot recognize you. Okay. So AI follows documented signals and not popularity. So this is also what I love about that, because it doesn't matter if you have 50 Instagram followers or 50,000 or 2 million. That doesn't matter for AI, because AI follows the links and not the likes, which is good news for everybody who doesn't want to be on social media like me. So now the question is, how does AI decide who gets seen, cited, and recommended? So as I said, AI doesn't read content like we humans do. AI does aggregate signals. So it collects data points across the web to understand who you are and whether you're credible. Now, and these data points come from long form content, repeated themes. And what do I mean with that? Repeated themes is basically you need to talk about the same thing over and over. And that's the thing that you want to be known for. It comes from third-party references and from consistent entity information. Now, what is consistent entity information? This is the data that you feed to Google, because AI runs on the Google content, like what the Google Knowledge Graph knows. You need to train it. You need to give the right data. So basically, you have to imagine like this: if you're like your ideal client asks ChatGPT, who should I hire for your expertise, right? Then AI goes and scraps the entire internet looking for proof that you are credible. And you need to create this proof. Also, AI looks for patterns, as I just said, and not posts. Like, so what do you talk about repeatedly? Who mentions or features you? And where does your expertise show up across trusted sources? Trusted sources. We're going to talk about this later. Now, when enough content consistent signals exist, AI can verify your expertise, cite you as a source, and recommend you with confidence. And what is very important to understand is AI does not discover you once, it confirms you over time. The beauty is also AI does not need volume, it needs clarity and repetition. Now, I think now is a good moment to everybody to take a moment and Google your own name. Like Google your own name and see what you find. And I do this with Simone, like not me, but Simone Leah. So yes, here this is what I see right when I Google your name, and it's basically your website, it is your Instagram, and it is your YouTube. Does that also belong to you, Simone?
No,
The photography?
no.
Okay. Um, is that your podcast?
Yep.
Okay, that is great. All right. Um, so basically what I see is, okay, people can find your website, which is good. But then on the right-hand side, you can see um, three different Simone Leahs. So one is a photographer, and there are two other ones. Let's just click that. So here, now this is a good example of a Google Knowledge Panel, right? We will talk about this later. So Simone Leah Photography um, basically trained Google to read the correct data, and this is how she created this Google Knowledge Panel. And we will talk about this later, and how we can actually make this happen. So when we go back, okay, this here now you can see your website, and here now you can see the something that is generated by Google AI, but it's not you, right? Because it's a French author, and as far as I'm concerned, you're not a French author. And then here, so this is yours,
Yeah.
but it's also like there is still the photography in there. So as you can see, you did not train Google on the data that is needed, right? So
Mm.
but what you can do as a viewer now, go and check your like Google your name and see what comes up, and also see if what comes up is consistent in a way that do you have like the same title, the same bio everywhere? Like, do you like are there social media profiles that you don't want anymore? Like I'm still cleaning up the for me, it takes some time because I have quite some things online. Um, but like I just recently deleted my Pinterest because I'm not on Pinterest, and I don't need it anymore. So like really, you need to think about your digital footprint in a way of, okay, what you can see, Google can see, and what Google can see, AI can see, right? And ask yourself, is this actually what I want to be, like what I want to be visible to AI, to Google, and to your ideal clients, to prospects, to people that you work with. Okay. So this is always the first step that I do with my clients as well. Um, now can we switch over to the slides?
Yeah.
No, I'm also curious what you found out about your profile. So yeah, put it in the chat, and then we can see. All right. So
I'd love to
then
ask. I actually found that really interesting that, like, obviously I post a lot on Instagram, but there was not that many photos or anything like that. Is that something that, like, we can learn how to improve that as well?
like like social media does not really is not really of a big interest to AI, because social media is like advertising, right? It's what we say about ourselves, and I can say I am great, I am amazing, I can achieve anything for you. But if somebody else says that, like somebody, if you speak on a podcast or if you are in the media, so we always want to go for the third party endorsement. But that's what we're gonna talk in the further presentation. Um,
Yay.
all right. So what you need to do is you need to stop building on rented land, right? So this also maybe answers your question a little bit. So social media, and I have an infographic for you later where you can understand this really deeply. Social media is useful for distribution and not for building authority foundations. Because content on social media platforms, it's temporary, right? So yesterday's post has no memory for today. It's like you're posting something amazing. Nobody sees it the next day, except when you're going viral, which 95% of people don't. I never went viral. And I wouldn't rely on that, right? So you also don't own the relationship, you don't own the data, you don't own the reach. And when algorithms change, visibility disappears, even if your expertise has not, obviously. Um, so for me, for example, LinkedIn is my number one platform and also the only platform that I'm active. And I have around 12,000 followers. And before LinkedIn changed the algorithm, I made one post and I reached around 3,000 people with one post. Now it's around 200 to 300 people. So it's like 10% or less. And why? Because they changed the algorithm. And if you build your business on social media, you're always dependent on on the algorithm, right? So in your authority only exists on platforms that you cannot control. And it's fragile by design because you are only one algorithm change away from starting over. So, bottom line, what that means is you don't need more followers. You need permanent, searchable credibility that works, right? While you're asleep and, while you're doing other things. Um, Now, your digital footprint, um, you should build your digital footprint instead, right? And what does that mean? You want to have a clean and easy to read online appearance. So this is what we just Googled. Like, if you Google your name, then everything should be clear and neat. And you can Google my name and then you can see how this approximately looks. And even mine is not perfect yet. And it can never be perfect because, you can like influence Google to an extent and do your best. But sometimes there are just also things that show up that you still have to go and work on. But that is that. Then a structured and verifiable website with high quality content, podcast interviews, media appearances, and a Google Knowledge panel. This is what I just showed you with Simone Leah photography. Now, with that, you build instant trust with your ideal client, and AI can see and approve you as an expert and recommend and cite you, and you don't have to rely on social media. All right. Say it again.
It's exciting.
It is. I know.
Mm.
I love what I do. So, but I also want to show you a couple of like why it matters, and I want to show you data. Okay. So according to recent research, 63% of B2B buyers use AI tools like ChatGPT in their research process before contacting vendors. So I have a high ticket program. So, and whenever people would want to work with me, I do this the same. Like if I drop 20, 30, 40K somewhere, I do my research and I have a conversation with ChatGPT or any other AI about the person that I want to work with. And if there is not the information that I expect to see, or there is like either no information, negative information, or wrong information, then I have a hard time to build trust, right? So then it's really difficult for me um, to then reach out and confidently, drop this amount of money. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that people find the information that they need, right? Then also podcast listeners are 4 times more likely to trust the brand after hearing the founder on the show, which is obvious because they have you for 30 to 60 minutes in their ears. And you build this know, like, and trust factor immediately because you tell your brand story, you share about your expertise, you share about yourself. And then also media mentions increase perceived authority by 73% compared to self-published content alone, which is also obvious, right? If you see somebody being featured in Forbes, on Cosmopolitan, or in Healthline, or whatever big publication, you automatically think, not even consciously, but subconsciously, oh, wow, this person is an expert. And then Google's AI overviews now appear in 84% of searches, 84%. And it prioritizes entities, so like people with structured data. And I know I talk a lot about data and trust sources, and it sounds all very technical, but it's not as difficult as you as it sounds. Okay. Now, the visibility triangle that I will present to you is not theory. It is built on how AI actually evaluates you, your business, and credibility now on the internet. Now, this is my visibility triangle, what we're going to talk about here. And you can see on the bottom, you have geo, which is the foundation. Like geo is generative engine optimization, which is the technical backbone that makes your authority machine readable, right? So as I stand, AI is machine, it's not humans, they read it differently. So in simple terms, geo tells Google and AI exactly who you are, what you want to be known for, and why you're credible so that they can confidently recommend you, right? Now, this involves two things that we need to do. First, structured data alignment. So your name, role, expertise, everything appear consistently across the web, your website, profile, in your schema markup, everywhere. This is what I just said. When you Google yourself, see if your messaging is consistent. So I always call myself PR and AIO strategist and not PR expert here. Like this is what I used to call myself, but I'm now also correcting everything online so that it's just all the same, right? It's consistent messaging. So this is one thing. And then the other thing is strategic blogging. So you need to publish content on your website that answers your ideal client's questions. Because with that, you feed AI with authoritative answers it can cite. Because think about it, if you want to be cited by AI, it actually needs to get your answers from somewhere. So you need to write a blog. Um, and so in 2014, with my first business, this is how I built my website to 100,000 monthly organic readers with SEO, right? So then I optimized for keywords. But now we don't optimize for keywords anymore. We optimize for your entity. We optimize for you as a person, like who are you and what are you known for? So, and obviously back then I wrote all the blog articles by hand, which took me around 60 to 90 minutes. Now I have a system which takes my client 15 to 20 minutes to have an article that is not written um, like from AI, like from AI content, but with our own content, but it's written by AI. So we use AI to help us write the content, but it's still coming from our head, right? It's still our own ideas. And without Geo, AI sees only disconnected fragments. And with AI, it sees you as a verified expert. This is also why you can see and why the triangle's upside down and Geo is on the bottom, because if you don't have the foundation, if you don't have the grounding layer, then the triangle will collapse. Now, this is the foundation that we need to have. And let me just share my screen again, because usually when I have this presentation, I get a lot of questions about the schema markup. And let me just share the screen. Oh, now it's in Dutch, of course. Sorry, I did not. I did not do my VPN. So what I want to do here is I want to just grab my website. Just
I have so many questions, but I'm like, I'm sure she's going to answer them. I'm sure she's going to answer them. This is so interesting. I'm like, oh,
yes, I will. We have time at the end as well to answer the questions. So when I say structure your website, one part is the people schema markup, the organization schema markup. There is a book schema markup if you're an author. So this is a snippet, like a piece of code that you need to write and add on your website so that AI can actually read it, right? So as you can see here, and then there it's a longer thing here. Oh, this is okay. I have to look at that. But this is basically me as a person, like my name. What do I want to be known for? Those are all the links. This is everything that I know and that I want to be known for, right? So, but this is data that you need to create and that you need to feed like feed AI. And you can only do this by putting this code on the website so that AI and Google can also put together the dots of who you are and what you want to be known for.
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Can
of
it
course.
go on? Can it go on any website? Like, can I put that data, like that code into, say, a Go High Level website or a Wix website or a WordPress? Like, will it work on anything?
Yes, it works on anything. So you just have like, it depends on the web, like it depends on if you use WordPress or Wix or Showit or whatever. Then it depends on how you can put it there, but you always can put the code in there so that it's readable. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. That is so cool. Yay. Thank you.
All right, can we go back to the slides? All right, so that was Geo, the foundation. Now, the next thing is podcasts. Now, podcast interviews are third-party credibility signals, and they create long-form, contextual conversations that AI can actually understand. Now, what does that mean? So, with podcasts, first of all, you build trust because people listen to you for 30 to 60 minutes. Secondly, you get the backlink, and the backlink is basically somebody else saying you're an expert in that field because you talk about your expertise on the podcast, obviously, and then you get the backlink. And the transcripts, they function as a high quality natural language blog content because AI can obviously read video, read audio, read text. It's nowadays there still has to be a transcript, but it can read video. I think like the MP3, like the only the audio um, uh, it's a little bit buggy, but that's only just a matter of weeks probably until this is possible. So AI can just read anything. And again, you want to make sure that you talk about your expertise. And then repeated appearances around a clear expertise lane creates signal density. That's what I said in the beginning as well. Always talk about the same thing. The more you talk about, the denser the signal is, and the more trust AI has in you and your ideal client as well. And then for humans, podcasts build familiarity and trust at a depth that social media cannot at all because 30 to 60 minutes and one social media post. And then for your ideal clients, podcast interviews let them get to know you really deeply before even booking a call, right? So they already arrived pre-sold, not just curious. So whenever people come to me, when they hear me speak on a podcast, most of the time it's like, how does the timeline look? Do you have capacity? And what is my investment? Because people already know that they want what I sell. So depth builds memory for people and for machines. Now, the next layer is the media, which is the validation layer. So media appearances act as a third-party credibility signal as well. And the bigger and more credible the publication, the stronger the trust signal. Now, not only the publication, but the bigger and more credible the source. Like if you speak on Lewis House, the School of Greatness podcast, this is a massive backlink that you would get, right? So, and then also, compared to like Forbes or Cosmopolitan or like all the big publications that you have, if you get those backlinks, this is a massive indicator for AI, for Google to say like, okay, this is really an expert. She or he actually knows what he or she's talking about. And also high authority mentions strengthen your digital entity and reinforce your expertise, obviously. And the beauty about media is also that you don't need to convince anyone, right? So you ride on the publication's reputation, and it does the work for you. Also, media works best when it validates something that already exists and not when it tries to create authority from scratch. Which is also why this is the third layer, right? So we always start with geo, then we go to podcasts, then we go to media. And authority is stronger when others say it for you. That's what I said. If I say I'm great, that's ads. If somebody else says I am great or you are great, then this is PR. And now here, the pink circle around the AIO, that's the continuous visibility loop, right? So an AIO stands for artificial intelligence optimization, and how it's basically a system that reinforces itself, right? So podcasts generate depth and discoverability. Media provides the validation and authority signals. GEO ensures everything is connected, legible, and understood by AI. And AIO ensures that these signals are continuously reinforced so that authority compounds over time instead of resets, like with social media, when you say something the one day and the next day it disappeared already. Now here is like an infographic so that you can understand easier what I just said, because I know it is a lot to process. So This is basically the new hierarchy of authority, and also at the same time how you can become visible to AI. So on the top there, you have the priority, which is the foundation of authority. Now here we have the strong GEO foundation, right? So you create your verified entity, which includes also a Google Knowledge Panel that signals AI that you are real and you are a recognized entity. Then you want to start pitching podcasts and also later then pitch the media. So this is your number one priority. Then on the second layer, the legibility, that is the structure of understanding so that we show AI, or that we teach AI and teach Google who we are and what do we want to be known for. So you have on the right-hand side, you have the consistent messaging, what I said, always the same bio, always the same topic, create the theme density. And then on the left hand, you have the structured data. Like that's the technical setup of your website where you have the schema markup for people, for organizations, for books and everything. Now, those two layers are the most important ones that you want to focus on. And then you have the bottom layer, which is the distribution, which is basically the amplifier. And this is where social media and regular posting sits. So that the role of that tier, tier is basically only to distribute the authority and the proof that you have built in the first two layers, right? And not really to create foundational credibility. Sometimes words are hard. And then on the right hand side, you can see the invisibility trap, which is really most entrepreneurs focus their energy on the support tier, right? On the foundation, on social media. And then they wonder why they are invisible. So the social media will never create the authority and the visibility that the first two layers will create for you. All right. Sorry.
So interesting.
Now, so why do most strategies fail and why are you not crazy for being frustrated? Now, first of all, you have already seen the system and work that I just told you, right? You just did not know what to call it. Because if you think about experts in your niche that you see quoted everywhere, they have a strong media presence, they appear on multiple podcasts. When you Google them, everything is connected, right? They have a verified foundation, but they are not smarter than you. They're also not more qualified. The only thing that they have is what you're about to build, right? They connected verifiable signals that AI can recognize and recommend. This is what we need to do. So why do most strategies fail? So you probably tried LinkedIn through leadership content, but without media validation, you're just another voice in the noise. You probably guessed it on podcasts, but without the GEO structure, AI cannot connect the dots and the appearances to your expertise. You've published probably content, but inconsistent topic, and positioning that confuses both humans and AI. Maybe also chased followers, but attention without authority keeps you stuck in the almost known loop. And you maybe also keep changing your messaging with fragments of which fragments your digital. Sorry, I just read it, and then I just need to speak freely. So you keep changing your messaging with fragments, which fragments your digital identity and makes you invisible to AI systems. And the missing piece is basically a strategic system that creates the connected, verifiable signals across all 3 points of the triangle. Now, here is a quick overview of how your business looks or how your digital footprint looks without the visibility triangle and with the visibility triangle. So without the visibility triangle, you have scattered signals, which basically means AI is confused and you don't exist in recommendations or at all, right? So your podcast appearances live in isolation, your content is connected to your entity, media mentions, if you have any, aren't reinforcing a clear expertise. AI sees fragments and not authority. Now, with the visibility triangle, you have connected signals, which gives AI the confidence to actually recommend you and cite you. And this is basically means your GEO creates your verified foundation, podcast generates searchable long-form authority, media provides third-party validation, AI sees consistent proof of expertise across trusted sources, and as a result, you show up when it matters the most. Now, here is another infographic. I love working with infographics because I know it's a lot that I draw. Um, so here is basically, in a nutshell, what we just talked about, right? So um, the AI visibility shift is basically from rented land to owned authority. So on the left hand, you can see the old way, which is the rented visibility. Your strategy relies on rented land, which means social media platforms control your reach, making your visibility fragile and unreliable. Then your consistency is just busy work because posting consistently without clear authority signals just makes you consistently ignored. And your visibility, you're invisible to AI gatekeepers because AI doesn't reward noise or volume. It rewards clear, credible authority signals. Now, on the right hand, you can see the new way, which is your own authority. Now, your strategy is engineered authority, like engineer the way of you thought about, like, what do I actually want to be known for, and what do I need to feed into Google and into AI? So you do this with your geo, with podcast interviews, with media. And that also means your presence satisfies humans and AI. Like we talk a lot about how can AI read what you publish, but everything that you read and everything that you publish for the machines is also great for humans because they actually want to read the answer of the question that you answer in your blog post. They actually want to listen to you on the podcast, and they build the know, like, and trust factor, and they build the trust when they can see you on the media, right? Um, and so that basically also means you're building an asset that survives. So this approach creates a long-term brand that outlives trends and algorithm changes. So as I said in the beginning, there is no get rich quick scheme. There is no magic pill. This involves work, obviously. But if you think about how much work you invest in social media and how quickly it disappears, then you might want to shift from investing your time into something that compounds over time instead of just going to create content that, like will disappear in the void. In our here, you can see the entire roadmap because, as I said, it's a lot that I talked about. And this is like the final summary where I want to put together the dots of what do you actually need to do. Because now you understand the concept of like how does it all work? But now you probably want to have a step-by-step system of how can you implement this. Now, first step, and I did not talk about this in the triangle, but this is something that I always do with my clients. We establish your LinkedIn profile. And and why do we do this? Because your clients will look at it, editors will look at it, journalists will look at it, podcasters will look at it, and it will also be looked at by AI. So this is the only platform that is cited because you can also publish blog articles there. So what you want to do is you want to set up and optimize your profile. You don't have to put content there every single day. I don't do this. You can check my LinkedIn. But you want to have this there so that when people find it, they can see who are you, what do you want to be known for, what is it that you do, how can you help them. This is always the first step. The second step is where we build your GEO hub, like your generative engine optimization. As I said, you want to optimize your website for AI data pulling and understanding your expertise and recommendation. Now, on the bottom, you can see two things. First, create a consistent digital footprint. That's what I said, your messaging and everything. You want to Google yourself and clean up what you can see. And then on the left, structure your website data, or your data for AI, which is then again where we implement the schema markup, people schema, organization book, whatever. There are a couple of those. And then once you have this ready, then you want to create high value blog content that is readable by AI. So you need to have a certain structure. And you want to publish around 2 posts per week. And you also want to update the blog posts. And then another thing that I also didn't mention in the triangle, in the visibility triangle, but what I hope that you do in your business anyway is build your own email list, because this is your marketing channel that you own. There is no algorithm. You can say whatever you want, some brown, and this is something that I always optimize the website for my clients for as well. Can't talk about this now because that will go too deep. But this is the second step, right? So we build your GEO hub. And then the third step is you amplify with podcast pitching. Like you pitch yourself as a guest to podcasts, to build the backlinks, to get the authority, to create AI readable content so that AI can cite you, and also to build trust and credibility with your ideal client. And then once you have that, I usually do this with my clients for 3-4 months so that we establish a routine so that they are really speaking on podcasts on a regular basis. And then we introduce media pitching as well. Because then you want to solidify your authority with media pitching. And for the media, you can either be featured or you can be a contributor. These are two different routes as well. Featured means you're interviewed and you're going to be cited by the journalist, and they will talk about you, and then link to your website. And being a contributor means that you write the article on your own, which means, and I love that, that means you are in charge of the messaging, and you're also being paid for that. Publications pay for you if you write an article. Now, with that, you generate the strongest authority signal. Now, here in the infographic, I made two examples. Forbes has 110 million monthly readers, and Business Insider has 105 million monthly readers. Now, if you think about the heaviness of this backlink, you can imagine how valuable they are for your visibility. And then also what I love about the media is that you unlock new opportunities. As I said, I got my book deal from that, wrote a best-selling book, but I also got clients from this, collaborations from this, and things will appear out of nowhere, which is really great. And then in the infographic, in the last step, you can see repurpose and reinforce is basically we create content in all those steps before, and then we can use this content and post it on LinkedIn or other social media channels. Now, this is basically in a nutshell how you can become visible to AI and recommended by AI and cited by AI, and obviously also trusted by your ideal client, by humans.
Absolutely love that. That is so, 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 so interesting. I have a million questions. Okay, first question.
Goodbye.
It's because I love that. Thank you. If someone was like, okay, I'm going to do all of these things, how long can it take? Like, is it something that's going to take us 10 years to build authority, or can we start to build authority in as little as 2 to 3 months, as you're saying there?
So, like the entire roadmap that you just saw is what I implement with my clients in 12 months. So my AI Authority Accelerator is basically a 12-month program where we start out with LinkedIn and then we introduce everything else step by step. What is important to understand is that you build something over time, right? AI does not suddenly discover you. It really sees you over time, in everything. Like at the beginning, it can feel slow because you build and you build and you don't see something. But just know that everything that you put out there with that system builds and compounds over time. And if you publish 2 articles per week, that's like more than 100 a year. And then you update everything that you have. And then, if you speak on 4 podcasts a month, this is about 50 podcasts per year. If you get, published in 1 publication per month, that's 12 per year, and everything that you build compounds and is being put together because you have the foundation, right? So you teach with your GEO, you teach Google and AI what you want to be known for. And then if you create everything that I just told you, it will compound over time.
Absolutely love that. Thank you. When you were saying update the blog posts, what do you mean by that?
So AI looks for the freshest content that there is. So the recent study says like when content is cited in AI, it is not older than 13 weeks. So what you should do is you should go and you should update your blog posts or refresh them so that there is a new date of like a new publishing date there so that AI can actually see this content is still relevant. Because if it's like 6 months or 12 months old, AI does not understand that this is still relevant. So this is why you need to update the content.
That is super interesting. Thank you. I had no idea about that.
And you
Next
also
question.
don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So with social media, you have to continuously think about new posts and new things and new ideas and new concepts. And with that, you create a high quality content on your website, and you go back there every 10 weeks, let's say, or every 12 weeks, and you go through all the posts and you update things, or you just republish them so that the date is up to date.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds so simple, but you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference. But now that you've said it, I'm like, yeah, that would make a huge difference. My next question as well, though, is where are we getting these blog posts from? Like, so say for example, I have a podcast and I do half an hour episodes once a week. Can I just use that to become my blog post and publish that on my blog and in LinkedIn and Substack and all the places?
Yes, absolutely. So that's just, what you can do are like, like an ideal workflow, if you have the time and the capacity or a team, is you can create a YouTube video, because YouTube is the second most cited platform as well. You can create a YouTube video, and then you use for the YouTube video, you extract the MP3 and you have this as a podcast. And then you use the transcript of that, and you use AI to actually take the correct transcript and write a blog post for you. And then you publish the video and the blog post on your website. This would be the ideal workflow. I only have a blog. I don't have a YouTube channel yet. Um, but if you do have, then you can totally set up this workflow. If you only have a podcast with like no video, then you can obviously use the MP3, get the transcript, and then use use the transcript to feed AI and ask AI to write a blog post for your website.
I love this. Thank you so much. What about things like, so say for example, if I'm publishing the exact same blog post, can it be the exact same blog post on my website, my LinkedIn, somewhere like Substack? Can I repurpose all of that with virtually the same amount of words, use that same thing to go onto Facebook? Or do I need to tweak the words a little bit for each different place?
No, it can be the same. So what I would usually start with is publish it on the website and then wait for 3, 4 days, so that Google can actually recognize this as the first place where it was published. And then I would go on and I would use it for LinkedIn and all the other places, Substack. Um, and I do this, it's still my habit, because with SEO, you had to make sure that the original source was being recognized by Google. And this is why I still do that. First, publish it on the website, and then wait for 3, 4 days, and then publish it on all the other places.
Yep, that's super interesting as well. Thank you. Because, yeah, like these are things we don't even know normally as content creators. And we're just like, posting on Instagram and you're like, set the foundation, guys, set the foundation. So, love this. If someone was starting from scratch, I'm feeling like what you're saying is two blog posts a week is the minimum, followed by one interview a week on a podcast, followed by one publication a month. Is that kind of like the bare minimum to get this sort of moving?
No, this is enough to get it moving fast. You can also be on one publication like every other month or every 3 months. Like it's important that the most important thing is that you understand the concept and that you set up processes for you so that you implement this on a regular basis, because it's about consistency. Like it's with social media, you have to post consistent, that people can, see you every single day. Um, just to see the content disappearing again. And with that, you need to have a system. Like for me, every Tuesday I do the pitching, right? So I do the pitching, I do the follow up, the outreach, and the writing and everything. And if you set this up and you really understand that this is CEO work, right? So this is not assistant work. This is not something that, you can outsource it to your team in house. I would never outsource it to an agency. Like never. First of all, ask an arm and a leg, investment wise. Secondly, not all of them, but most of them are not worth it. So you need to understand that this work is actually CEO work, and work that needs to be done by you or be supervisioned by you. If you have an assistant, then you need to look at what is created and what is published, to make sure this is actually what you want to be seen online.
I love this. Thank you. And also, as well, when it comes to like if someone's brand new, how are they finding these podcasts that they're pitching to? Are you using an AI tool to do that? Are you doing manual research? And how many are you even applying to a week to get onto, say, one a week, like for a month sort of thing?
Yeah, so I use different strategies, but there is a great search engine for podcasts that you can use, which is called Listen Notes. There you can find a lot of shows, like it's basically a podcast search engine. And then there are also tools like Podmatch where you can sign up for, where you can get matches. This is more like a beginner strategy, so that that you don't have to proactively find and pitch them, but then you set up a profile and then you're going to be matched, and then you still have to pitch them, but it's a little bit more reactive. Whereas pitching podcasts is proactive, right? Where you create your list and you come up with speaking topics and you write your professional pitch, and all those things. Um, what was the second part of the question? Oh, how many podcasts do you have to pitch to speak on for per month? That depends. Like that really depends. I typically pitch 40 podcasts per month, so 10 per week, which is super fairly quick if you understand the system and how to set this up and how to make this work. But it can also be that you need to pitch 80 podcasts, right? But that really depends on multiple factors, like how good of a fit is the podcast shows, how great are your speaking topics, do you actually show that you want to offer value, how good is your pitch, how good is your subject line, like those are a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. But I always say, like, pitch 10 podcast shows per month, which is 40 per 10 podcasts per week, which is 40 per month, which is almost 500 per year, and you do speak on podcasts a lot.
That is super cool pro tips for everybody playing at home. You don't hear someone telling you this sort of stuff all the time. So definitely be writing notes, guys. Also, with the publications as well and getting in publications, is that sort of similar to how you're getting onto podcasts?
Well, with publications, it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, but a little bit more complex. So you need to understand how the media works. You need to understand how the publication works, what they want. You need to understand how to pitch them and what kind of stories to pitch them. And also how to find the contact, because it's really, you don't have to have, this is the biggest lie that PR agencies will tell you, because this is how they make the sales. Like, we have the contacts, like, we have the contacts and we just need to send one email and then it's going to magically happen. And that's bullshit. So what you want to do is you want to research the publication and find the right person who is interested in what you have to say, and then write a pitch. And then also the pitch for being featured is drastically different from the pitch if you want to be a contributor and write for the media. But yeah, so basically, go to the publication, see what they publish, see how you can add value, and then find the person that you would want to pitch.
Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you. One more question. Sorry, I'll probably be saying that for the next
No,
5
it's
minutes.
okay.
I wrote- But how much AI involvement are you using in this writing? So if you're writing a blog post or you're pitching someone or you're writing an article for one of the publications, what is the kind of percentage of how much of that article or blog post or pitch is written by you compared to, say, Claude or ChatGPT?
Like, for my blog, everything is written by AI, but it's based on various transcripts that I give. So there is also a system to that. Um, Pitching for the media, you cannot write a pitch with AI, and you can also not write an article for with AI for the media. The only publication that at this moment allows to write with AI is Inc magazine. For all the rest, they have an AI detector, and if anything looks like AI, then this is basically like, they will basically blacklist you. They will not respond to you. So and then for the pitch, that's a little bit more drastical over than if you, let's say, like, being accepted as a contributor and you could write the article for the publication. Um, they do not allow you to write with AI. And you also have to sign an agreement. And like, for Business Insider, it says that. For parents, it says that. For Forbes, it says that, like every agreement says like you're not allowed to write with AI. And if you still do, and they find out, your article will not be published, and you have just blew the chance to write for a big publication. So there is like, with the media, there is a lot of manual work still included.
No, I love that. It's good because it's still allowing people to like have their voice. Because that was one of the things I was wondering, even with blog posts for your website, whether or not it was actually going to penalize you if AI was writing it. But from the sound of it, with what you're doing, as long as you're using your own language patterns, your own thought ideas and stuff like that, you're not actually getting penalized for using AI in your workflow.
Yeah, no, and there is this rumor that if you write content like your blog posts with AI, then Google will punish you. It's absolutely not true. The only goal that you need to have is to add value and to answer a question, and it needs to be humanized, right? It needs to be with human language. But if you create the content the way I teach it to my clients, then you use your own voice, you use your own words, and you don't use this. AI text with all the dashes and the colons and the super fancy words, because this is actually what is not what it means, like to not humanize a content, a blog post.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. This is so, so interesting because it feels like what we've really built on today is like that long-term strategy. Like what you're saying, it's not the quick wins of your 30-second same with your reel. It's literally building those long-term, basically SEO, but the AI version, like the now version, which is just cool.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, with, as I said, like with social media, you have to reinvent the wheel every day. And like sorry, I can't be bothered to create a reel every single day and to dance in front of the camera. Like I have two kids, and I don't have time for that. So everything that I want, that I build, or like create, should compound. I did this with my first business, and I'm now heavily invested in that strategy in 2026 myself, obviously, because everything changes super fast. And I also think that building a personal brand just gets harder and harder in the next 2 to 3 years, because with AI, we can already do so much. But you need to build a personal brand now to build this trust, because at a certain point, we cannot distinguish anymore. Is this a real human, or is this actually an avatar talking to us? So yeah, uh, and that still is, an avatar will not be featured in the media, because the media will always only, you know, well, I'm saying that now, right, in 2026, but as from now, I think the media will always only include humans, and not AI avatars into the media, into their presence. And the same goes for podcast interviews, right? So this will remain a strategy. It has been for a long time. PR has been a long-term strategy and the number one strategy for a very long time. It becomes even more important now as we're moving so fast with AI and everybody can create everything. Yeah, I mean, I can create an AI avatar and I can pretend to be, I don't know, uh, any other expert, like a health expert or a nutritional expert or whatever. And people could, believe it, but it would not be possible for me in that case to speak on a podcast, because if you speak on a podcast, you really need to understand what you're talking about. Or like on a summit like this, if you don't understand what you're talking about, um, you just can't show up. Uh, yeah, I think that was a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love that answer. It definitely, like, yeah, it makes sense. And I definitely agree with you. Like, getting that visibility and showing up now, why, like, as you said, why people are still showing up as humans is definitely so important because, yeah, avatars are what's coming in. And there is going to be a couple of years' time where we just can't tell the difference anymore. Might even be quicker than that. So I
Yeah.
love this whole topic. And it's been so great to connect with you and hear about it. Where can people find you?
Well, the easiest way to find me is on my website, simonesauter.com. And then if you want to connect with me directly, then LinkedIn is the place. I'm also on Instagram, but if you try to get in touch with me there, no, it's not really easy because I'm hardly there. But LinkedIn, I'm there on a regular basis. So feel free to connect, send me a message. And, if you have any questions, then reach out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simone, because this has been like amazing stuff that we don't even think about, but that I feel like we really, really, really need to know moving forward. So thank you so much for your time today, because this has been amazing.
Thanks so much for having me.